Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're jumping into Planet Coaster 2 and we're going all in on some magical wonky facades for our Twisted Hamlet street in Imaginaria. This build is heavily inspired by Hogsmeade from Harry Potter, crooked chimneys, funky rooftops, and that classic wizarding charm. We're creating 3 facades that all connect into one functioning shop. And as always, I'll walk you through the building techniques step by step so you can recreate this style in your own park. The first shop front we're tackling is the Honey Dukes Elixir Boutique. Guests won't be able to enter directly from this side, but they will be able to peek through the windows and see an interior later on in this build. I'm a huge fan for good bay windows, and the fact that you can look into a shop from the street just sells the immersion. Right away, one thing I noticed about the Sorcery Pack is that the bay windows really should have been transparent instead of tinted grey, so we'll be building our own custom bay windows to get around that today. This is where we'll also focus on front Victorian style windows and doors. The goal here is to establish that perfect balance of wonkiness while still keeping the shop readable and functional. We start by shaping out the footprint of the Elixir Boutique, mixing new Sorcery Pack pieces with some of more familiar building parts. So right now on screen you can see me working on the bay window. I'm doing the famous 180 rotation trick to get the shaping just right. After that I go in and I delete half of the piece because otherwise it will be sticking into the building interior. For the doorway I'm using one of the new wooden pieces from the Sorcery Pack to frame it out, and then dropping in a pre-made door to finish the look. For the midsection, I'm using a plaster piece from the resort theme to break up the facade and balance the top with the bottom. This also creates a perfect spot for our shop sign later on. We're still using the Kepstone wall set for this first facade. As I'm stacking the pieces upward, I'm leaving space for the windows. These ones aren't crooked, instead they're set cleanly into the stone, almost as if the wall was built around them. At this stage, I'm actually holding off on the roof. I prefer to wait until I've gotten more of the surrounding buildings in place so I can see how everything flows together. So instead of capping this one yet, let's move over to its neighbor. Next up is Slug Jitters, the second facade. This is where I start to play with a little bit of leaning on the upper section of the facade. I begin again with a custom Victorian style window because I love how it allows you to see both the inside and the street outside. It makes the building feel alive. And I've got to say, one of my favorite pieces so far in Planet Coaster 2 is the wooden support plank. Thin 1 meter. That piece is absolute gold. It got great texture and it works beautifully in both small and oversized uses. Once the window is framed in, I add a door frame and build upward, giving the facade some height and balance with room for windows above. Then I drop in a roof module from the Sorcery Pack along with a chimney, which immediately sells the crooked wizarding look. Now here's an important tip. I still don't touch the base of the building. Instead, I split the top part from the bottom so I can notch and tilt just the upper section in all the wacky ways I want, while keeping the structure underneath stable. It's a super helpful way to keep control of your builds, while still adding that crooked charm. From here, it's all about polishing. I add a decorative bracket on the side, hanging a lantern, and start detailing the trims. Now that Slug Jitters has its lean and roofline, it actually gives me the context I needed to go back and finish the roof on the Elixir Boutique. So I hop back and I add a slightly tilted roof with a chimney and a window topper extension. It all ties together nicely and starts to feel like a real row of shops. push the wonkiness even further, I add in some gutter pieces running from the roof down to the ground. Here's the fun part. Nothing needs to be straight. I let the gutters bend and tilt slightly, which adds that bit of character that makes these facades feel hand-built and magical. Finally, I returned to custom window and door framework. Again using that favorite 1 meter plank piece. It's a small detail, but it's one of those finishing touches that makes the whole facade pop. So I've already gone ahead and shifted the top part of this building. And you can see it now has that slight lean I mentioned earlier. The door and window frame here are basically all built out of glass pieces combined with that thin wooden plank I keep talking about. Such a versatile piece. Definitely one of my favorites. You can do so much with it. So we're continuing the build here by putting together a custom door. Once that's in place, it's time to give the facades their names. I'm using an edible text sign and picked out a font that works well for this style, and to keep things consistent, I'm applying the same font across all 3 shops. I'm adding a few extra touches as well, like this little hanging drape in front of the door. I love attaching things to the walls: flags, ropes, chains, lanterns, signs. They just make the facade feel more alive. Later in the video I also drop in some lamps to push that atmosphere even further. Next up I'm adding some roof trims. For this I'm actually using the fence piece, which works surprisingly well when repurposed. It gives a nice bit of rhythm and definition along the roofline, and because it's not a perfect fit, it adds to that slightly crooked hand-built look that we're going for. So the next building in the row is Three Broomsticks, and it really has that pub vibe to it. The name just fits a fantasy world perfectly. It could be a pub, a shop, a tavern, but in this case it's of course selling broomsticks. I've even put together a little broom display, both in front of the window and later on the back wall, which I'll show you guys in detail. The window front here is another custom Victorian style setup. And what I love about this row is that all 3 facades are completely different but still tied together. They're all custom and they're all transparent too. You can see in and out of each door, which makes them feel alive. And just like I said back in my beginner pro master video, the trick is to keep layering and take it one step further each time. For this one I leaned on a lot of Victorian reference pictures, plus some inspiration from Hogsmeade itself. I start with the base first, the glass storefront and custom door, and then split the building with that nice trim piece from the Sorcery Pack, which also gives us a spot to write the shop name. Above that, I separate the top from the bottom again, so I can angle it a little bit. This time the upper part leans slightly left, giving the whole facade an overhang like it's starting to slump over, really selling the wonky look. From there it's all about texture. I use a different wall type for variety, add some decals and then trim the roofline with driftwood pieces. That extra depth on the roof plus the crooked angles really pulls it together and gives it that hand-built magical feel. So as we continue, I'm again using the townhouse roof module. They just fit perfectly with this style. And of course we need a chimney right out front to balance the roofline with the other chimneys. I've darkened the color to a deeper brimstone tone and added planks across the top for texture. On the upper floor I placed some wooden windows and hung a few curved tiles off the roof edge. It's all about creating that layered storybook aesthetic. After that, the sign goes up, the Three Broomsticks. Now comes the fun part. I'm building a wonky window topper extension that curves right out of the roof, leaning slightly toward the neighboring building. I popped in a crooked window with broken shutters and added decals to make the wall look even more weathered and whimsical. Keeping with the crooked theme, I added gutters and drains for this facade as well. It's a small detail, but the effect is noticeable. It really sells the wacky, uneven look. Once that was done, I dropped in more decals across the walls before moving on to one of my favorite details, the broom. For the broom, I only needed 2 pieces, the box hedge and the small thatch roof cap. Put together, they make a simple but super effective broom. I hung one up right in the shop's front window, just by the entrance, so it looks like it's on display. Before we jump backstage or into interiors, I wrapped up the door by framing it out with a plank and filling it with glass pieces. Since this is a facade, a neat trick to keep things clean is to just add a back wall with scaffolding supports and then box it off behind. It saves time while still giving the illusion of depth. I also added small crooked window topper on the middle building and then connected the chimneys across the roofs with ropes. That detail adds so much extra energy to the roofline. To finish off, I went back to the first shop and created a hanging elixir sign. It's simple, just some basic shapes for the silhouette and chains to hold it, but it came out really nice. For the interior, I didn't go overboard. I just wanted to give it enough atmosphere to feel functional. I added 2 shops inside, cluttered up the space with potions, cauldrons, bookshelves, scrolls, newspapers, and little props here and there. In the end, I'm very happy with how the inside turned out. It supports the facades without overwhelming them. And that wraps up our wonky wizard facades build here in Imaginaria's Twisted Hamlet. I love how each storefront has its own character, but when they sit together, they feel like a real crooked street you'd stumble across in a magical village. This build will be coming to the workshop soon. so keep an eye out if you want to explore it in your own park. If you enjoyed this tutorial and want to see more Planet Coaster 2 building techniques, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your favorite detail from today's build. It really helps out the channel and lets me know what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!